Humanity Matters.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Sparacio, and this is the first episode of Inheriting Memory, which is a podcast that's going to focus on the legacy of the Holocaust and third and fourth generation survivors. Today, I'm here with Aaron Sokolov, who's a junior at Roslyn High School, and he's going to talk about a little bit about his family's legacy regarding the Holocaust. So, Aaron, can you tell me a little bit about yourself just to start?
Hi, I'm a junior from Roslyn High School, and last year I was involved in the Names Not Numbers organization, I would say it's called, and we made, which is basically what it is. We made a documentary. We each surveyed a survivor, and we combined like the most important parts, and we put it into like an hour and a half long documentary, which was really, really cool. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to further enhance my involvement. So I'm here today to answer questions about my great-grandma, who was a Holocaust survivor.
And can you tell me a little bit about your great-grandma?
So she grew up in Poland. She was about 12 years old when she went into the camp, and they escaped because her dad was my great grandpa was wealthy. They owned a company or a shop or something. He was wealthy, and he was able to get them out and bring them to Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. So before we get into the more specifics about her story, I wanted to ask a little bit about what it was like growing up in your household as a fourth generation survivor. Did you feel that your parents were influenced by the legacy of the Holocaust in your household?
They definitely were, because it was a really, really, really traumatic event. 6 million people were killed. But also, it's kind of just growing up as being Jewish. Like, it's definitely scary because a lot of people are against us. They don't like us because of our religion. Not even because of how we are. It's just because of our religion. And it's very scary because some people are really, really ruthless.
It is really scary. And did you feel that, were there signs in your household atmosphere that your great-great-grandmother had survived the Holocaust? Was there anxiety, humor, hypervigilance, any of that in your house growing up?
Not really. I mean, when she told her story, I didn't really know the full story. Like I know parts of it because my grandma, I had a fifth grade project, and it was ask your grandma about a story that she heard when she was younger, and she told that story. But it was like very few parts of it because I was also 11 years old. She wasn't going to go in the whole spiel about what happened in the camps, but definitely I know parts of the story.
Right, that makes sense. So hearing the story from your grandma, was that the first time that you heard the story of your great-grandmother?
Yeah, because my great-grandma, I called her Bubby Rose. She passed away when I was 6 years old. She was very old, so.
And do you remember the moment that you first heard the story?
Yeah, I was sitting right next to my bed. I had the paper on a folder, and my grandma was sitting there telling me the story. And I just remember being completely shocked because I knew there was a Holocaust and I knew a lot of people were killed, but I didn't know how, even that was a probably very small portion of the story. I didn't know to the extent it was. Like, they were brutally beaten. It was definitely a violation of a lot of human rights.
So you remember as a moment of shock when you first heard?
I was in so much shock. I was like, wait, they did that? They hurt them like that? They treated them like that? Like, thank God she got out.
Yeah, it certainly is a traumatic and shocking story. Mm-hmm. And do you remember, can you tell the story that your grandmother told you still?
I don't remember most of it. I just remember being very shocked. she was, I mean, her family was she got out of the camp safely. I don't know exactly if she went into hiding or was able to cut a deal, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know most of it. I should know like more growing up with it, but I'm pretty sure she definitely 100% was able to get out and immigrated to New York.
Okay. Thank God they were able to get out.
Yeah.
Did you ever ask your grandma what it was like to grow up with your great grandmother? Did she ever talk about that?
Not really. It hasn't been a topic that's really came up.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's get into your great grandmother's specific story. Can you talk about like this? Do you know what specific camp she was in, or like anything like that? So you just know that she was in a camp and she got out.
She was able to get out.
The family had connections, or wasn't hiding. She was definitely in a camp. Okay, and do you know what her life was like after?
I mean, it was definitely different because I'm gonna assume she was there for like a year or so, maybe 2 years. It was 100% different, and she was living in a completely different country. Mm-hmm. New York, Brooklyn. It's very different from. Don't know the exact town in Poland, but she was living in Poland and now in New York. It was definitely gonna be completely different, and she was a teenager, so she adapted, but it was definitely going to be very different.
And did your grandmother ever mention her like talking about her mother's experiences, or was she mostly silent about her experiences throughout her life?
I haven't really asked my grandma that much about it.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the impact that the story had on you. How do you feel that having a great-great-grandmother Holocaust survivor has impacted your life today?
It definitely changes how I think about the Holocaust, because it's one thing when you hear about something like, let's take the October 7th attacks, for example. Like, I was very, very hurt seeing that, and it was terrible, and I would have done anything to be able to help them out or volunteer. Like, I volunteered some time, try to help out. One of my close friends did a fundraiser. He tried to get us all out to, I forget what it was exactly, but he held a fundraiser or something around his house. And I was like, oh, it's definitely different when you hear a family member, someone you loved, is involved. And one of the Holocaust, my survivor for Names Not Numbers, her son was in the attacks.
That's terrible.
I know. So
you feel that clearly, it's everything that's happening in the world hits very close to home, even especially because of the legacy of the Holocaust in your family. And so you mentioned that you took part in the Names on Numbers program. Can you talk?
Names Not Numbers.
Names Not Numbers program. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It was, so pretty much you have to apply for the program. You write 2 Google Forms on how the Holocaust has affected your life, and about a little bit about the story on why you're applying. My mom kind of helped me a lot of it because she knew the story more than I did, because she was older. She was able to ask questions, and this was her side of the family. Like, my grandma that I asked about, that was her mom, or is her mom.
Okay.
So she was definitely able to get more information about it than I did. So she helped me write it. And I got accepted. First year, 9th grade, I applied. I didn't get accepted. Last year, 10th grade, I applied. I got accepted. We worked together. I don't necessarily exactly remember the survivor's name, but it was a woman. She was 90. She was anywhere from like 88 to 90, like late 80s, early 90s. She was 6 years old by the time the Holocaust happened. So when she was taken to the camp, or she was in hiding, I'm pretty sure. She like left the camps and was in hiding. Her life was completely different. She said she made up minds in her games about chocolate, on how after she got out of hiding, she would be able to have all the chocolate she wanted.
Oh, wow.
Because that was like something that kept her sane, essentially.
Like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, but she was also she was 6 years old. I don't know how much she really remembers, if she's telling the story through someone else's eyes or retelling it. She was 6 years old. It was more about after the Holocaust, like what happened, how she adjusted. Because she went into the Holocaust being 6 to 8 years old, and she immigrated, and she was around 13, 14.
Okay. And you mentioned that your mom helped you get involved with that program. Has Holocaust education always been important to your mother as someone?
Of course.
And how did you...
It's important to me, but she knows it's important to me and just always helps me to help out.
Okay. And would she often like discuss Judaism and the Holocaust with you growing up?
Growing up? No, not really. I've done some classes, during quarantine, there was a Zoom that kind of talked about it, quarantine 6th grade. And then after, there were a couple of my friends talking about it. And it was little by little, you learn a little bit more. For names on numbers, we learned they taught us kind of 20 minutes before, during, after the Holocaust, just get us to ask questions. So I definitely learned a little bit more. I definitely probably don't know that much still, but it's really, really shocking to me.
So did you have any moments in your adulthood right now or young adulthood where you realized that the Holocaust was shaping your reactions, your emotions, or your experiences?
What do you mean by that question?
Were there any moments where, I guess you mentioned October 7th a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about your reaction to that and how you felt and your response?
I remember my camp friend came over. He slept over at my house, and we woke up next morning to a lot of notifications on our phones, and we were just shocked. We just didn't believe it was happening. It's really hard. You hear about the Holocaust and you hear how people anti-Semitism, but a lot of people thought that it was kind of over. No one would attack a group because of their religion. And then when we heard about that, we were just in shock.
Well, it's understandable in that you felt shock in the aftermath of such a traumatic event, especially now with such an increase in anti-Semitism. Yeah. Is there something that you wish that the public understood about anti-Semitism and about the effect that it's had on you in your life?
How it can affect someone. Imagine Christianity was a little bit of a minor religion and everyone just attacked that religion. Everywhere you go, there are people who, I hate Judaism, I will do something to Jews. You're always hearing about people attempting to or succeeding to bomb synagogues. And it's so scary that people who just want to express themselves, we have the First Amendment right to be able to express being Jewish and able to believe what we want. And people are still trying to take that away from us.
And do you feel compelled to educate younger generations and other people about being Jewish in the Holocaust?
Yes. I feel like it's so important for everyone to learn about a extremely traumatic event. So people can learn this is not okay. This is not something that should be normal. Just because a lot of people preach anti-Semitism because they're messed up in their minds and they're very prejudiced, that doesn't mean that they should continue to influence these people. And then something like October 7th, something that happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you came here today to tell your story. Do you feel, how does it feel to tell your story and talk a little bit about your family's legacy?
Definitely feels good to reflect. I like sharing the story about the Holocaust, even though I know so little about my great grandma's story. It's just nice to talk about. It's just nice to talk about some of this stuff because, a lot of people are very uneducated and just, Jews this, Jews that. And it's we have gone through so much. Mass murdering of our people, constant anti-Semitism. A lot of colleges aren't because I know a lot of my friends are now 11th grade. We're getting in that process. A lot of colleges are just super unsafe to go to because there's anti-Semitism and these presidents are doing nothing about it. And now you're going to be in a place where there's constant people trying to do stuff to Jewish people. So talking about it is really important to get people to not to like sway away from these acts and just be able to accept us all as people.
Yeah, certainly. Telling your story and the story of Jewish people and anti-Semitism is extremely important, especially today. So thank you for telling your story. What motivates you when the world feels like discouraging and it feels like there's so much stacked against Jews today?
It's just when people can easily disrespect you and your whole religion like that. It just makes me really angry and upset and confused. It makes me angry that I'm a part of, like, I'm very, very happy to be Jewish and I'm proud about it. I have a star. I wear it everywhere. I'm really proud. It's confusing why it's us. Why we are constantly at the foot, why we're constantly being prejudiced, why I constantly see stuff online of people like just free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. It's just really, really shocking and hurtful to me. It just makes me mad and confused and upset that people, because I'm in the US and Long Island is somewhat of like I know a lot of, like, my whole friend group is Jewish. I know a lot of Jewish people. We're lucky to be surrounded in a community like this, but people who are living maybe down south who are very prejudiced, or people who are living in Israel that constantly feel like people are trying to attack them and they're not always safe. I can say I am most, like 95% of the time, safe, but I know a lot. My friend his family lives in Israel. I know that he feels as if sometimes his family isn't always completely safe. And it's scary. It's really scary.
It is really scary. Do you plan to pass on the story of your great-grandmother to your children and to the next generation? Do you hope to learn more about the story?
I do hope to learn more about this. And this has definitely impacted me that I want to ask more questions, that I want to be more involved and know what happened. Because she was one of my relatives. And I can't sit here and say that I know a lot about her. And this kind of opened doors to me. It's kind of hurtful. And I would love to know more about her.
A lot of times it's common for the story not to get told in families, like, because it's so traumatic.
People don't want to talk about it.
They don't want to talk about it. And that's part of why it's so important to learn the story and to tell the story.
I bet you a lot of Holocaust survivors have so much PTSD that they just don't want to mention it.
Exactly. They don't want to mention it. They don't want to pass on, any trauma to their children or to their grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely common to not know the full story.
Yeah, this is definitely impacting this. I feel like I want to ask questions now. I want to know.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure you could learn the story. And are your grandparents still alive today?
Yeah, on that side, yeah, they're both still alive.
On your mom's side. Do you have any message to the listeners to the podcast?
I'd say learn people's story first, because a lot of people just have a very prejudiced thinking, and I bet you it's not I bet you some of these people, it's not even their thinking. It's their parents who influenced them as a kid and made them believe this. Oh, Jews are bad. Jews are like. I bet you a lot of people who are just prejudiced like that, and they don't know any better. I'm not saying that it still justifies their actions, but I'm also saying that probably from a very young age, they've been told this. So I'd say learn people's stories first. Don't go in with such a prejudiced mindset on these people are bad, because a lot of people that I know are like get a lot of stuff, but they're amazing people. And a lot of Jewish people, we haven't really done anything. Nothing's really been done to a point where we've hurt anyone, and we are still getting all the backlash for it. And I think that's super unfair.
Yeah, it is certainly unfair, and your feelings about it are completely understandable. So I think we're going to wrap up the first episode today. I want to thank Aaron for coming in and
Thank you for having me.
talking to me. It's been a pleasure to listen to your story and to your opinions and ideas about what's going on in the world today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.